Okay, so it's now 10 minutes past 12, and I think we can start with our information seminar for today. First of all, I would like to welcome you all back from your teaching practice, and I hope you had a good teaching practice. I am sure that it was not easy. I'm sure it was not easy, and teaching is not an easy task. But that is one of the reasons that we always discuss with you all about how important it is for people, for teachers, to adapt to the situation in front of you. Teaching is not a recipe. I cannot give you, nobody can give you a recipe to teach well in a classroom. Nobody can also give you a recipe of what to use, what technologies to use in the classroom, and how to use these technologies. So it is important that you adapt to the people who are in front of you, to the resources that you have, and to all the contexts, the classrooms, the resources, the people who you will be working with. I don't know if anybody is having problems. It seems Marlene cannot hear me. Can you all hear me? Can you just do a wave of hands if you can? No? Wave your hand if you can hear me well. Yes? Okay, that's great. Okay, if somebody has problems, maybe they can send me an email so that we can try to sort out the problems. So without much ado, I would like to welcome and introduce our guest speaker for today. Her name is Pernilla Josefsson. I hope I pronounced your name well, Pernilla. Rita, your audio is on. Can you please mute your microphone, Rita? That's great, thank you. So I remind everybody to keep their microphones muted unless you want to speak or say something. Pernilla cannot seem to come up on stage, however I'm pointing towards her. This is her in her pink shirt and sunglasses. She will be doing a presentation here, which you can see behind me on the big screen. Please try not to touch the screen so that Pernilla will be able to go back and front on her own presentations. I did introduce a little bit Pernilla over Facebook. In fact, she is a PhD student like me, but she's also a lecturer at one of the universities in Sweden. Her lecturing is within the context and the frameworks of social media, so I think it was a very fruitful encounter that we had with Pernilla, and I'm sure that you will stand a lot to gain from her presentation. She will be speaking for a brief time, but then you will be doing some work inside the world here today, and we'll be going around, so feel free to speak to Pernilla further. She might also have some questions to ask you throughout the course of her presentation, and you are free to ask Pernilla any questions that you have. Pernilla, a round of applause for Pernilla, please. So we all clap our hands for Pernilla. Thank you for joining us, Pernilla. The floor is on to you, and you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Vanessa, for the introduction. Can everyone hear me? Or is it someone who has a problem with hearing me?
Give me a hint. I can hear you well. If the others can hear her, please can you wave your hands? Thank you.
Very, very low sound. Okay.
Yeah.
I can probably increase the sound. Is this better for you? Can you hear me better? Okay. Vanessa, can you? Some say that the sound is very low, and some say they can hear nothing.
Okay, Pernilla, you know what I suggest? Can you go up on the pod, since you cannot come up on stage, it seems, I don't know, for whatever strange reason. Can you go at the back where there's a microphone over there so that your voice can be amplified? And I would suggest that you go to shout. There's a microphone that's free on the left-hand side of the stage if you want, Pernilla, because there seem to be a lot of people at the center of the theater. I don't know if you can see. There's another. I'm pointing to it now. I don't know if you can see it.
I'm standing right beside the microphone right now.
And if you can click on it and then right click and use shout as a voice.
Is it better now?
It's much better, yes. I don't know, can the others hear better? Can you just send a text message if you can? Much better. Yep, it's much better, Pernilla. So yes.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll do it from here then.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, and welcome. As Vanessa told you, I'm a PhD student at KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology, and I'm doing my PhD concerning social media and e-learning. And my focus is higher education. I've been teaching for several years in another university, or yeah, let's say it's the last 7 years I've been teaching full-time at University West, which is located more south in Sweden. So I do get some experience, at least in higher education. I've talked a bit with Vanessa about what you have already got introduced to and what you have been speaking about, and it seems like you already know a lot. So please tell me if it's something you've already heard, which I will be talking about, or if it's something you want me to explain more in detail, because I will try to just introduce you briefly to the history of social media, just to kind of get a recap, and then tell you something about our habits in Sweden, and then more precisely discuss how it's used in education and what attitudes I can find amongst the students here in Sweden as they are being introduced by the teacher or using the social media by themselves. Can you please click on my slide, Vanessa?
Yeah, okay.
We'll move forward. Thank you. Okay, so as I told you, I'm just going to show you kind of a timeline of social media. And as you can see, and I hope you can read on the presentation as well, it's not so long ago since the first learning platform here in Sweden. It was called Ping Pong, and it was implemented in schools during '97, around that time. And shortly after, they were introducing the next learning platform, which was called Blackboard. At University West, we were quite early in this use the platform which is called Disco. All these are basically used due to this time to upload information for students to take part of. There's not so much communication in the beginning, but it starts to become more and more common. And I guess you already know, today there is so many students and teachers that use Facebook and other free services, or free in the sense that they're not paid or licensed by the school. Can you please click forward once again? Thank you. So if I look at the social media usage in Sweden, because this is to put you in the context to understand the attitudes which is reflected amongst the students. Today, this is the latest source from Internet Statistics. It's made by a company here in Sweden, and they just released it. It's November 2012. They released this information, but it's based on surveys done in 2011. It says that half of the Swedish population use social networking services. Actually, 62% of the internet users in Sweden use social network services. They could also present that today it's common that half of the population in the age of 3 years are regularly using internet. And that number in age has changed rapidly. Just a few years ago, the number was 14 of age. So 3 years, it's really shrinking in that number. And please, Vanessa, click one slide. Thank you. Okay, so what will this actually mean for the society, that all these children and all these adolescents and growing up are starting to network? Are they networking, or what are they actually using these services for? This has been a lot of research introducing terms like social isolation, because some presume or has done research that show that we talk more with our weak ties, and we are losing those strong ties. I don't know if you have talked about strong and weak ties, but in the relationship, the strong, close relationships and the weak ties is then aiming for the weaker relationships, the one you don't talk with that often, the one you don't have contact with or personal contact in a sense. And please click, Vanessa. Thank you. Okay, but actually, I want to show you another side of that, and that is the latest research done by the Pew Institute, which is one of the biggest in America. That actually showed the opposite thing that many had been worried for. They say there's not been any changes in the social isolation since '85, and that people that use social networking sites are actually very keen to keep up with their close social ties, and the more friends you have on these social networking sites, the more close ties you're actually having. So this is kind of showing the opposite side, which all the worries has been about. And it also says that Facebook user has more closer relationship, and they are also more trusting than others. I find this kind of interesting, particularly if you put it in the context what happens when you implement social networking services like Facebook in the education. Can we create more close ties? Can we create more close relationship? Is those relationships going to be student to students, or are they going to be students to teacher? I don't know, but I guess you probably have an idea about how you would like to have it. Please click for next slide. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So what I've been discussing with a lot of students, and if I'm going to suggest something for you to discuss further on, or if you want to ask me a question after my briefly introduction here, I would love to hear your thoughts about how social media could be supportive, how you could use it as a back channel. I can't hear anything. Someone is... I have a heavy noise
Carmel?
in my ears.
Carmel, can you please turn off your mic, Carmel? Thank you. Carmel, your mic is turned on. Can you mute?
Okay. And for those of you that just arrived, welcome. We're just talking a bit about social media and e-learning. Okay, so let's continue then. So I want you to start to think about what this means. We are some slides before there. Stop. There you go. Okay. So before talking so much more about this, I actually want to ask you a question, and I want your response to this one. And to create the allowance for you to respond, I created some questions. So if you click on the next slide, Vanessa, you will get the your tag. Perfect. So please, I don't know how the possibilities for your Vanessa is to show internet sites, because this is an online interactive questionnaire. So if all of you students go in
yes.
and vote using that ID,
yes.
we will be able to see that.
Yes.
I will give Vanessa the link.
Yes, Pernilla.
And we can see it real time.
Yep, Pernilla, I can share my desktop, and so they will be able to see the link here on the desktop behind me, on the screen behind me, which says share desktop. So if you give me the link, I will just click on it myself, and then we'll see how the students vote in real time. So
you already have the link in the text message.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will rotate. Okay, and so that is this, and the
So to be a part of this and to vote, you need to either use your computer and internet or your mobile phone. It doesn't matter. You can either use the link on the screen, or you can use the code, the picture code.
Okay, so for everybody, please, you can just click onto the site www.vot.rs, and then you put in your ID 227431, and then I will share my screen with you, and you will be able to see it behind me. So so once again, the code is, the URL is www.vot.rs. So kindly go into your internet browser and click on that URL, and then use the ID 899521 and vote for the question that Pernilla is asking. What is your attitude towards the use of social networking services in a learning situation? And we shall be able to see your results in real time. Can you please do that now? Take 2 or 3 minutes to just log in and start voting. Thank you.
So please try the ID. Let's see, we have a lot of IDs surfing around. It might be my fault. You can definitely use this ID, which I'm typing in the text chat right now. I'm sorry, it's the wrong one on the screen.
Okay, so everybody can use 227431 as the ID. 227431. 227431 to put in your vote. Thank you.
Okay, I can see we have 5 people that have voting, 7 people, and the positive one is actually the highest. This ID should work. Please, even if you have voted, try to use the latest ID presented, the one with start with 227431. Okay, so let's see. You can continue vote if you wish to. Of course, I can see that we have 28 votes right now, and it seems like most of you are positive, or rather positive on using social networking sites in a learning situation. So why do I want to ask this? So, okay, I can see that there are some questions in the chat. So, Jessica, hi, I'm Pernilla. I'm from KTH, and I'm giving a short introduction to e-learning in social media and the usage and attitudes reflected among students and teachers, which I've seen in my research. So, basically, I just put this first question. You'll have a second one as well, and a third if you wish to. And to give you the possibility to, in real time, see the attitudes that are reflected among your group of students, which is supposed to be teacher in a couple of years, or maybe already are teachers. And I think that could be something that could start up in the discussion later on. How come some of you are positive? How come some of you are very positive? How come some of you don't have any opinion? What is this based on? And how will you transmit your attitude? And how will it reflect upon those students that you are going to teach when you're out doing your teacher service? So that's just a way for me to introduce the thoughts about how you can use social media. In the start is to actually ask yourself, what is your attitude? And what is the attitude in this group? So that's my main goal. And I hope that you hear me as well. I can see all my presentation goes on. I'm not really there yet. Yes. You can click one more, Vanessa.
Sorry, Pernilla. If somebody clicks on the presentation, apparently since everybody is a speaker inside the auditorium, they can make the presentation go forward. So I ask everybody not to click. I would just like to refer to Jessica and Loredana, who came in late, and all the people who are following. What Pernilla did was an online social voting mechanism. She asked a question, and she asked you to answer that question by voting yes, no, or any other preference. And basically you can still do it. There is an online site which is www.vot.rs. You can log in and then use the user ID, if I'm not mistaken, 227431, is that it? And then vote your preference for that. So that was it basically, Jessica and Loredana. So we can go on with our presentation, and Pernilla, I will mute my mic now. Thank you.
It is totally okay. Okay, you can step on to the next slide in the presentation, and I will give you a new opportunity to vote. Hopefully it will be a question as well, but someone is jumping. Can you please put my presentation on the QR code with white background?
With the white background.
Stop. Thank you. You can use that QR code, or you can use these numbers. So please vote using the number showed in the chat box. And then you can see the results of what your group is thinking about, as Vanessa can show you. I'll send her the link right now, and she got it.
Okay, Pernilla, people are voting. I will leave some time before I share my desktop and let many more people vote. And then I will share the desktop to show how people are voting in a minute.
Okay. Yep. So right now it seems that most of you are positive or negative, neither negative or positive to the use of Facebook when it's the teacher who has initiated it. And we get some that are negative as well. So we get 18 voices that ours has left a trace in this short question. Okay, can you... There's still some dropping in. Please, I will leave that up and you can still vote using that. I'll give you the last question in the third one. So if someone please can click my presentation to the next slide. So this is the question about what you think if it's a student-initiated Facebook group. And I will give you the user ID for that in the text chat as well. It seems that you just started to vote on the student-initiated group, but what I can see that is you are more positive spontaneously about a teacher-initiated group, and you are more negative if it's a student-initiated Facebook group in a formal learning situation. Or it's more diverse opinions in this case. I find this rather interesting, actually. Basically, because what I want to show you next is what the student has been saying, has to say about this. Okay, you can still vote, and maybe you can show them right now, Vanessa, the results. Is that possible that they can see the results of their voting?
They can see it on the screen in front of us. Yes, it's there. I can see it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So please, can we just jump one slide in my presentation? Thank you. Okay. So based on asking students about their attitudes towards different social media tools, such for an example, the social networking site Facebook. I've been thinking about, okay, so many students are positive about the usage, but do they really master this technique of letting those social networking services serve a purpose for learning, or what are students actually using this for? If it doesn't serve the purpose of learning, is there then a space for social networking services or social media technologies in higher education? If they're not supportive in the sense that the teacher wanted to be, is there a place for it? Should it be introduced? Should we use it? Can you please jump to the next slide in my presentation? Thank you. So this was a task I gave students in second year at University West. So I will not ask you to do this. I just want to show you the result. Okay? I asked them to create one version of a picture to kind of describe their relation to social media and how they use it in the education. And what was very clear, someone has their mic on. Can you please turn it off? Thank you. And what was very clear was that most of the students appreciated the social media in their formal education, but not many of them actually used it or showed as using these pictures that they used it in a way that supported their learning. Rather, they thought it was good, like the picture on the presentation shows, but it was a question mark beside the thumb up. Or they sniffed it like a drug. So they use Facebook and spend a lot of time there, which has an impact on their learning outcome. Okay, can someone please click on my presentation again to next slide? Thank you. So, some of the last things that I want to speak to you about, and don't worry, I can give you the user ID and the question.
Pernilla, excuse me, Antonia, you have your mic on. Can you mute, please? Okay, thank you, Pernilla. Sorry.
No worries. I can give you just a note. I can give you the user IDs, and you can vote even after my short introduction here. So you have the possibility to see it, and I can also send you the direct link so everyone can see it on their own computer. I just wanted to end up here also telling you that I ask a student more precisely, okay, if you use social media in a learning situation, what has it been used for? And most of the students tell me that it has been used for communication. And some of them is using it for information search, and some of them are also using social media for creation of learning material, which is interesting, of course. And we can have a discussion later on, or you can ask me more about what exactly this means, creation of learning material. Okay, please click the next slide. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the latest thing I was doing, and this is actually a picture from today, or I collected these today. I also tried the microblog usage with students year 4 at KTH. And what they are using it for, we can see here, what might be interesting for you is which top words are they actually, what are they talking about? And what you might expect, or I didn't know if you expected, deadline, assignment, build-up, which is a learning platform, be social, and presentation is the most common words used, as they were using the microblog Twitter and tagged it with the course hashtag. So that also reflects their daily life as students, of course. Please click the presentation again. Thank you. So to meet up with this increasingly feeling or the students' need to communicate, KTH, which I'm from, the Royal Institute of Technology, has tried to develop their own social media platform. Basically, it's kind of not a traditional learning platform, because you cannot upload information. It's rather inspired by Facebook's timely communication. But we have a problem here, because many of the students want to have more contact with the teacher or with each other, and they want to communicate. So they want to have a space to ask questions. But not every teacher want to be there. And I'm pretty sure that you can relate to it as you've been out to teach in the schools. You don't have time to do everything. And who is paying your time to be on those social networking services as a teacher to provide answers on the students' questions? What is that time taken from? And what is it reducing? Is it reducing those meetings face-to-face or virtual worlds or online meetings? And so not every teacher are supportive of this kind of services, but the students appreciate the communication opportunities. And I think that will be something for the future and for you as a teacher to think more about. If you want to work with it, if you have a positive attitude, what changes? How does the communication between you and your student change? So I'll just end with some quotes from the students which I've been speaking to. So please click to the next slide. Yeah, so the students I've been talking with, this is students from University West, which is in year 2. And they really appreciate the possibility with social media and the flexibility, the transparency, and it also has inspiral effects on them. But they also see that it distracts them. They're very aware of that. Yeah, please click to the next slide. So this is next quote from a student in year 4 at KTH, and basically they don't even think here that we will talk about social media. It will rather be digital communication, or we will talk about communication or conversation. So they really see that we will use these tools to manage our conversation in the future. And that's also their attitudes and their intention of the usage in the school as a student. Please, next slide. So briefly, this was a short introduction. I'm sorry, Vanessa, it took more than 20 minutes. But I hope it was inspiring and it just gave you some pieces of what students think about it and what kind of tools they have been working up with. If you want to ask me more about it, please feel free. I've used several of them during my years here.
Okay, thank you very much, Pernilla. A round of applause for you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. If we can all give Pernilla a clap, please. Yep. Thank you for your presentation. As you said, it was a brief introduction to social media, but it was certainly quite thought-provoking because there were a lot of questions that I think that many people ask about the role of this important medium for communication that we are having to face as we are living in society. Although you speak a lot about higher education, I think we are always also in the same position when it comes to younger students. As you said, in Sweden there are reports that show that many younger people are now on social media platforms. I have to tell you that in Malta, the people using Facebook, the people who have Facebook accounts, amount to more than 250,000 people. That is more than half the population. More than half the population of Malta. So, and those are using Facebook, not just having an internet connection. So we are looking at the population, at the community that is using social media as an everyday tool to communicate. There are many people who do not use Facebook to communicate, but they still make use of other social media tools like blogs, like microblogging. And this also brings me just to end this session to one other aspect of what I want to discuss with the students, and I want to discuss with all of the participants here today about the use of, when you're having this idea of using communication, of using social tools to communicate, one also has to be open to the content and to the scope of what is happening across the internet. The internet nowadays has become an open place where we find a lot of content, and we as educators and we as part of the education most often speak about this idea of having open educational resources. People who post things on the internet, whether they are photos, whether they are videos, whether they are text, whether they are documents. People who use social media platforms to post even links to their blogs are most often discussing and they're contributing to this idea of having a more open society, open and networked community. So social media leads to an open and networked community. Now, I do not know, many of these participants have been out on teaching practice, and I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to visit the Open Educational Resources room, which is on the other side of the block, which has a number of links to different open educational resources. What I would like to do today, rather than go over the lot of information there is about this, is one of the things tell you that when we're using open access to content and information, there is a group of people and an organization, if I can say so, that operates under a common license, which is the Creative Commons. Now, I do not know how many of you have ever heard about or made use of Flickr. Flickr is the equivalent of YouTube in photographs and images. So whereas YouTube is related to videos, Flickr uses photographs and images. There are other tools, other applications that share, for example, documents, and I have posted some links to them as well. However, they all operate under a license which is called the Creative Commons, and the Creative Commons license makes allowance for people to use, reuse, share and modify content that is found on the internet. I know there are some questions going on. We'll come to the questions in a minute. I will just check the text in a minute. I just want to hand out the task that I would like the students to discuss today. I would like actually to focus on two different aspects and then come back with their discussions in a minute. So this is about the Creative Commons and creating an open culture to what people are actually working upon. In the way that we experience this idea of having an open access to the resources, this idea of having an open and networked community that operates over different social media platforms, applications, and media, is through bringing them all together in one platform, in one area. So what I'd like to show you is a little bit, I will share my desktop. So if you can kindly look at this screen over here where I'm pointing towards, you will be able to see my desktop about some of the different common resources that we find, especially in an educational setting, and how these are being used to transmit open courses. I will be showing you the first course, so 1 second until I get this one. Okay, I'm sharing my desktop at here. Yep. So if you look at my desktop, you will see that the first page that I'm showing is a course that has been held online. It has now finished. It was being held between October and November of this year. It had 6 weeks. And what we had were a huge number of resources that you might see here, okay, as in content that we could have access to, that we could have open access to. These resources were also not only posted here, but they were also posted through the various discussion platforms that we had, social bookmarking tools that we used, and also in microblogging conversation. So we had different learning activities to participate in. I'm saying we because I was also doing this course along with 4,000 other people. And we could all participate in the different discussions that were initiated not just by the persons who were hosting the course, but were also initiated by ourselves. So, for example, if I click on the D2L discussions, I find that there's going to be a kind of a discussion activity where people they look at the topics. Okay, so this was, for example, an introduction, and there were all the different week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 discussions, all centering around the central theme. So, for example, if we look at different activities, I know that I posted one. That's me, and this was in reply to a post that was done within a particular subject and a particular theme. That is one example of how these open educational resources are coming together, and how we are using social communication platforms. When we think about social communication platforms, I don't know about you, but the tendency when I speak to people is that they associate social communication platforms to something which is rather trivial. In this case, we're talking about social communication platforms that are used to be able to foster learning and to drive drive learning. And I think this is an important aspect of social media that we really need to take into consideration and to also think about when we're thinking about how to promote social media in our education system. Now I do not want to take up more time, but I will focus on some questions. I think that there were some questions who were asking. One user said, when we give too much importance to virtual media, are we not leaving out those learners who have no access to any sort of social media? Pernilla, would you like to answer this?
Well, I can give it a try. I think that's a very important question to ask. And yes, of course, some will or might be excluded. It depends on how the situation looks. What are the schools striving at, and which are their intention as creating media literacy? Can we keep it at a basic level, which means that our use of these services goes hand in hand with the schools we are working at, their regulation for creating media literacy for the students? Because I think media literacy will be very important when students leave schools or also in schools, to help them cope with this information sharing or information that are available on the net.
Yes, and in addition to this, I think we should also think this is no longer a question of saying, I resist this idea, because this is not a matter of resisting change. Society, the whole world globally is changing. And it is changing in a number of ways. It is changing in the ways how people view and perceive jobs, the employment opportunities that are coming out every minute. In the 1980s and 1990s, opportunities in employment were different from the needs that we have today. And these needs are driven by the impact that technology is making. Although there are some people in the society that might not have access, I think we should help them gain access. We shouldn't stop and say, look, let us not use technology, let us not use social media because these people do not have access to them. But rather it has to be the other way around. Let us provide access. I can speak from the local perspective. We get children in schools who might not have access to computer and the internet at home. We do have those children, but I think there are ways and means of bypassing it. 3 options which I see is this. People, teachers, educators, helpers can set up computer clubs within the schools outside school hours. There are groups, even the 360 group, the 316 group that operates outside of school, that can allow for people to gain access to school facilities outside school hours. And also there are people who hold, for example, computer clubs or other forms of clubs that can give access to these people who might not have so much time. There is another option. There are community centers in various towns across Malta that offer, say for example, local council offers the possibilities of having computer access. And I think that we can drive people to make access, to make use of these facilities. I'd like to see some other questions that I'm provoking, but I'm losing track. So just 1 second. 1 second until I get track of the questions. Okay. Let's see. I had a question about privacy. Carla, can you please post your question about privacy? Okay. Can somebody please speak? I mean, you have use of your mic. If you have a mic, you want to ask a question, please go ahead and ask. I was just wondering where one would draw the line. Yes, that is very important, Carla. And I think that what the attitude of schools mostly is, and I think what our duty as teachers has to be, is not to bury our heads in the sand. There are schools that prohibit the use of social media. There is even now the teachers' ethical guidelines that have been drawn up that prohibit the use of social media, but they're quite vague. I've read the teachers' guidelines, the ethical guidelines, and they say that a teacher is not allowed to have their private life communication with the students, but they don't say exactly where or how social media can be used for educational purposes. So I think we have to do that. Yes, I do agree that using Facebook to connect with others is great, and that abuses may happen. The problem... Yes.
May I ask one thing?
Uh-huh.
Because I just want to respond to the question about privacy as well. And what I think is important is that we also need to talk about privacy in the schools with the students. We also need to talk about them, just like you are creating avatar here, that they actually can have a username which is not trackable to them as a person, which is more important if they are younger, I would say. And all those possibilities which is offered, and maybe you can also choose a social service which is not open in that sense that it reveals who they really are.
Yep.
But it all comes to the more private the students are, and the more possibilities they have for abuse, because you can't track who they are. So it's a scaling there. You have to make certain choices, of course. Thank you, Vanessa.
Yes, thank you, Pernilla. And as regards to some people who are saying that some social media platforms are banned in schools, yes, there is a problem that we have, that internet is quite limited at schools because it is being controlled by an agency. However, every teacher has the right to write to the agency through the head of school, or else there is a helpline that you can call, that you can ask them to enable a specific site. For example, a great social network platform which I find and which my students use and they also find very helpful is Edmodo. Edmodo, Edmodo. It has a layout and a look and feel that looks like Facebook, but in the end it is closed, it is private, and it is more controlled. So at the end of the day, this is allowed in schools. You can sign up as a teacher, and your students will have their student account. And as a teacher, you would have the possibility to communicate with them at a level that doesn't border the private and the confidential, but that the level of conversation that is posted inside the social media platform is controlled. My one argument against people who prohibit the use of social media is that beyond the classroom, these people are still on the social media platform. And we're always going on about how to make best use of social media, how to be ethically and politically correct, and how to instruct our children to behave on social media. But unless the education system embraces it and then uses it to help students understand understand the privacy issues, the issues about safety online, then it will be impossible. It will be impossible because the students will go home and they will still go onto the social media platform and they will still give people access to their most private information, and they don't know, because this is not being carried out in a controlled educational environment. Janika, would you like to say something? Your mic is open. No. Also, there were some other questions which I would like to tackle. Can you please? I don't know. Maybe write. Okay, during my teaching practice, I used to ask whether, Charles, you said, okay. And we have no place to stay. Jillian, there is there are some open access Wi-Fi areas outside in the quadrangle, and I can invite you to come to my office if you want to connect. So if you can find some other access, it would be great if you could just stay on a little bit longer. Charles, you mentioned a question. You had a question. You said, during my teaching practice, I used to ask whether they have access to the internet. All gave me positive answers. I think we should suggest that for those who do not have access may seek to redress for local councils. I'm sure they help out. Yes, absolutely. Charmaine said, if we promote Facebook at a very young age, I don't agree with. Are we making them aware of the dangers of Facebook? Would it be better to use systems like Edmodo, which are available only to restricted? That is exactly what I'm saying, Charmaine. What I'm saying is that, listen, these people are going to use social media, whether we decide to embrace them or not. These people are going to have access to a lot of information online. The problem is that the young people of today, they don't know how to filter the information. They don't know how to behave online. They don't know how to use the online environment because schools and the education system is not making proper use of this. And I think it is the duty of us as teachers to drive a new culture within schools. Sometimes we feel that we have to go inside schools and accept things the way they are. And I think that we should start a different culture, a culture in which we embrace open access, we embrace sharing of resources, we embrace finding the right kind of information and making use of it, and also we embrace the full awareness of what a life online, what a digital identity can do to us. And this is something that our young people today, they don't, I mean, if you look at Facebook and you look at some of the comments, posts, photos, shares which these people do, even on YouTube, sometimes it is amazing, sometimes it is quite worrying, but it seems like it's an anarchy, it's an anarchical environment, and everybody is afraid. Everybody seems to be scared of it, rather than actually asking people to let's try and approach it in the right way, and let's try and deal or have these people in front of us, these young people, deal with it in the right way. So I think that is a very important issue. What I would like to do is I would like to spend some 10 to 15 minutes. I'd like you to go away in groups of people. Just sit down, stay somewhere where you want in the world. You've got downstairs and upstairs. Upstairs, there's a lift that takes you upstairs in an open area. And I would like you to discuss a little bit in 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, to discuss a little bit this idea of open educational resources and how schools can benefit from the issue of open educational resources, but also how social media can be made use of better, practically, tangibly, inside a classroom. Just that 10 to 15 minutes. And if you have issues, then you can describe them. But I would like you to come back in 10 minutes. Well, it's 13:13 now, so I would like us to meet at 13:30 and spend some 10 minutes discussing your issues. So please, go away. There are 2 meeting rooms with different chairs where you can sit, or upstairs there's an open area. There's an open area with different areas where you can just stand together and discuss a little bit. Use text, use chat, use whatever you want. And we'll meet back here in the auditorium at 13:30, so in 10-15 minutes time. Yeah? Thank you. Myself and Pernilla will be going around and discussing with you further, so please feel free to go and discuss, and then come back in a few minutes with questions, queries, and also statements that you have collected. Okay, so
Io måste lapda prodda för kaffe och kaffe och mixerma. Mina. Ay.
Oye, ¿cómo lo siento? No mogę się nie Känns det att lyssna på egentligen?
Faye, would you like to speak?
Okay, if you can just give me 1 minute, I'll just go and call the others who are still in the meeting rooms, and we'll be back and we can start with our discussions. In the meantime, if you can just, you can either choose to speak or text message or just share with us some views, or maybe if you have compiled a bullet point list and would like to send it to me, or compiled any other information, or come across some interesting information that you would like to share, please send me emails so that I can post them and post the links on the virtual web, and then we can all share the resources that we find. Just a minute till I go to the other meeting room, and I'll be back soon. Thank you.
People.
Hi. Can you come back to the auditorium, please? Thank you.
Okay.
Oopsie. Sorry. Okay, so I hope that Pernilla should be able to join us soon. Her presentation will be available from this Dropbox, so as soon as the seminar is over. As you all know, our seminars are recorded, so you can have a look at the seminar recording later on. I'll make it available, and I'll tell you which area upstairs it will be available from. And I think we can start. We can start with the discussions. Who would like to start first? Who would like to have something to say before? I don't know. I won't call out names, so please just raise your hand. It's number 2, I think, to raise your hand. Yep, this is it. Raise your hand, and you can speak. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, there's somebody raising their hand. 1 second, because I disabled the. Oops. Okay. Yep. Okay. Let me get the text message. Okay. Yeah, I know you're raising your hand. I just don't know who you are at the moment, because I don't have your. Let me see. Text chat. Okay, Adrienne. Adrienne, you'd like to speak, to say something?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, I can. I don't know, maybe you could move over to the microphone here. If you can follow me, there's a microphone.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, Adrienne, I can hear. Yep, I think it's better. Tell us, please.
Okay. Okay, so basically we said that by using social media, we can promote student autonomy. We are promoting also modern teaching, The social media is obviously more student-centered, so it is more engaging for the student to be able to see himself what he should learn and what he should not learn. Basically, I myself have tried this out during my teaching practice. I created a Google site for my kids because they were Form 1 kids. I didn't use Facebook because I knew that they didn't have any access to Facebook. So I created a Google site for them, and I put everything that they needed and links to interactive websites on it, so that if they needed to see presentations again, if they needed to have something more challenging to do, they could go to the website. And I can say that it has worked wonders, because my students were all the time asking, like, Miss, when are you going to post something new on the website? Miss, I went onto the website and it was brilliant. So yes, I can say that it has worked wonders. The only thing I think, or we think, because we discussed it, me and Petra discussed it, we said that it can be a distraction because it can be too engaging, so it can distract from maybe other subjects or homework and stuff. It can create cyberbullying because there is no face-to-face communication. So having a screen can maybe give you that sort of power that normal conversation would not give you. Basically, that's it.
Thank you, Adrian. Just a remark before we go on to the next speaker. I admire the fact that you did use technology to support your classes. So yeah, a round of applause for you. But I also think that cyberbullying will occur with or without the intervention of the teacher. So when you create an environment that is monitored and moderated by you, then you can control cyberbullying. And this is a very important aspect that we really need to give more thought to. And this will be another topic of discussion which we will discuss in our next seminar. So thank you, Adrian. Next speaker is Jessica Sacco. Jessica Sacco, please. We keep the discussions short, and please send me your views even over email. Jessica, you can move to the either text or else move towards one of the microphones so that everybody can hear you. Thank you. Actually, it's Francel, yes? Francel who will be speaking. So, Francel, can you move towards the microphone there at the back of the room? Jessica Sacco, Francel, are you there? Would you like to speak? We are not finding anybody. Charmaine, please tell us. You want to speak or text? Yes, Charmaine, I can see that you're waving. You can speak.
Yes, sorry. Basically, what we spoke about is that we went beyond just Facebook as an online tool. For example, we can use Edmodo, Ngrade, other tools like Go Animate, Spicy Notes, Zimmer Twist. So strictly speaking, I think that sometimes we misunderstand ourselves when we just relate social media to Facebook. Even Twitter is a way of communication, even though in Malta few of our students use it. For example, during my teaching classes, I used Edmodo. I hadn't all the advantages I expected to have. For example, some classes were not enthusiastic in using Edmodo. They simply told me, teacher, what do we need it for? We have Facebook, and for us, that's enough. I had this kind of complaints as well. But for example, the advantage of using online tools is that you have soft copies. For example, if you have children who are absent from the lessons, they can access the website and see what their homeworks have been given to them. Also, in terms of money, most parents complain that their students spend too much money on photocopies. They can access a soft copy from the website, and then it's up to them whether to print them or not. Basically, this is what we discussed during our
Yes.
brief
Yes,
meeting.
excellent. I am very much in favor of social network platforms like Edmodo. I think that I believe that giving a voice to the student makes them much more active, much more enthusiastic and excited about their learning. Sharon, would you like to speak next, Sharon?
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
As regards the
I don't know the others. Maybe it's better if you move towards the microphone. They're at the back, Sharon. I don't know if you can see them. Okay, perfect. Perfect, thank you.
better?
Yep, thank you.
So, Rosemary and Mary and myself, as regards the first question, said that open education resources are open to more people since they are freely accessible. It also draws upon technologies that facilitate collaboration, flexible learning, and the open sharing of teaching practices, which in other words empower educators to benefit from the best ideas of their colleagues. They can serve people and students because they promote lifelong learning. They bridge the gap between formal, informal, and non-formal learning, and there is a widening participation in higher education by expanding access to learning and reaching non-traditional learners. However, there are advantages as well. For instance, you may have fake educators. You don't know if they're legitimate or not. And therefore you can end up with misconceptions. And when you're passing it on to your own students, you're passing on incorrect information. It's quite risky because the information you put up or which is put up by others can be viewed by anyone. Not everyone has internet connections. There are some students who don't even have a computer. There are people who are illiterate, unfortunately, and you also find those unmotivated students who may not pay attention to what is being shared and do not actively participate themselves. As regards the second question related to social media, everyone can say what comes to mind on it. And it may lead to cyberbullying as well, so it would be best to have a moderator in the team to monitor the dialogues and information being submitted. And also, social media is ideal to keep in touch with students, to discuss any difficulties encountered during lessons, coursework or homework, to send updates and deadlines to students, to upload documents and share YouTube videos related to topics covered during the class, to plan field trips and investigation sessions, and to create a discussion board as well. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. Jessica, you're next. If you want to say something, and then I will conclude. Is there anybody else who would like to speak as well, beside Jessica? Yeah. Okay. Was it Maria? I think she wanted to speak. Jessica, you can speak now. Thank you. Jessica, we cannot hear anything at all. I don't know if you are talking. Are you talking, Francel? Jessica? No, maybe, listen, Jessica, can you send a text chat of what you wanted to say? Because nobody is hearing anything. You are not being heard. No, I'm sorry. Can you send it as a text chat? You can send everything via email, Jessica. Yes, of course, please do. Maria, would you like to say something? Maria Kutayar, I think, wanted to speak. Was it Maria, Faye, or Sarah? One of them? Yes, okay, all right. Can you move towards the microphone, Maria, so that people can hear you? Yes, Jessica, probably the problem is the internet connection. It could be. So, Maria, if you want to say something? Yep.
Basically, we said that we can use educational resources, open educational resources, to help students become more motivated towards learning. And in English, we could also use them for writing tasks, and it would make the tasks more relevant to the students' everyday lives. So it would create a more realistic context which they can relate to. We can also use them to create dialogues, to, for example, appreciate characters in literature or prose. It's got a lot of good implications, but the teachers need to also make it clear about how students can have privacy settings, and also that sort of the students need to abide by certain rules that the teacher creates. For example, this site is, or this resource or social network is only used for educational purposes. That's basically it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everything. I will remind you that please send me anything you come across. I will stick your posters, links, YouTube videos in this world and in the next. I would also like to tell you that this is a conversation that we will certainly be taking up in the next and fourth and last information seminar that we have. We shall be discussing more about social media, but we shall do it in a different format. We shall be having a World Cafe. It's called a World Cafe. A World Cafe is that when people break out, like you did today, but you will have a whole session to discuss. We'll discuss different scenarios, including student motivation. You've come from teaching practice now. You know that some of the motivation from students is really low, and I think that is the biggest hurdle that a teacher has inside a classroom. And I honestly, really, truly believe that these media applications are, well, might not be a panacea for everything, but they can start off interesting conversations. One thing which I would like to point out is that social media is not just used to post assignments and homeworks, but you could spark off discussions that could bring about a love of the subject. And this is very important. You find so many things on the internet, and you, as the mentor, as the teacher, as the educator, have the power to filter the information that goes through and present it to your students. And when the students themselves present information as a moderator, then you have the power to actually to moderate what the student finds, and therefore to guide the students towards finding the right information in the right context. And I think this is one of the primary uses of social media in education. We educate, and that's very important. But this is a conversation that we'll certainly take up in for our next information seminar. Our next and final information seminar is going to be held next week. I will publish a leaflet for this. The information seminar will be held at the same time. If you want, please tell me if you want it at this time, or if you want, or if you prefer to connect from home in the evening. We'll keep each other posted over Facebook as well. And please keep sending me those links you are sending, because they're very important. I will put any PDF and any links that you find into this world and in the next world that we're going to have. The next world is going to be made up by your work, with your work, and everything over there is going to be a collection of what we did. I will be keeping in touch with you over Facebook in the next coming days, and I will issue a leaflet about our next information seminar. So thank you very much for participating. To all those of you who have lectures, enjoy it, and thank you for coming today. Thank you very much. Thank you.